name's Chris Hecker, and I'm the developer of SpyParty, which is an indie game out of Oakland, California. Well, SpyParty, there's like, you can talk about a game in a bunch of different ways. SpyParty, from a kind of core mechanical standpoint, is a really intense player skill game, competitive game, but about where the player skills are behavior or people skills. So it's a player skill game about people skills, like skills like perception and deception. At the more fictional component, SpyParty is a game where there's a party full of people, like a ritzy Casino Royale-esque party. There's a bunch of people doing normal party things there, like having drinks or flirting with each other. One person at that party is controlled by the spy player, and the rest of the people at that party are controlled by the computer. And they're all just doing normal things. The spy is trying to blend in with these people. The other player is the sniper and is looking in at the party, trying to figure out which player is the sniper or which player is the spy by detecting missions. The missions the spy has to do that are different from what the normal people will do is things like bug the ambassador, poison a drink, transfer the microfilm, swap a priceless statue, those kinds of things. So it's kind of a long and convoluted story. But we did this thing called the Indie Game Jam, which is like a 4-day get-together where people make small games based around a theme. And there was a game there called Dueling Machine by a guy named Thatcher Ulrich. Dueling Machine had a city with a whole city filled with people. They were little Doom sprite guys. We were trying to figure out how many Doom sprite guys you could render on modern 3D hardware. And Dueling Machine had 30,000 of these, and you were a guy with one gun, one bullet, looking for a single guy in this mass of people. And you had a sonar ping, and the target could hear that. And it was a really intense game with all this sea of people trying to find somebody. And a couple years later, I was like, what's a more intimate version of that game mechanic? And so once I came up with the party and the idea of a spy fiction, the game kind of designed itself. It's like, spies are trying to hide in plain sight, trying to do missions and that sort of thing, and then trying to be detected. And if you think about it, it's actually it's an inverse Turing test. Alan Turing was this famous computer scientist that had a test for AI. Like if you can do a chat with a computer and not know whether it's a computer or a human, then it passes what's called the Turing test. This is an inverse Turing test. This is where the player is trying to pretend like they're a computer, as opposed to trying to, computers are a very long way away from passing a Turing test, but players can pretend like they're a bot, and that turns out it is fun gameplay. There's this really famous YouTube clip of a bunch of people throwing a basketball between each other, and it was a psychology test, and you're supposed to count the number of times people throw the basketball between each other. And halfway through, it's actually in the way that psychology tests often work. The test itself was not whether or not you can count the number of times the basketball went back and forth. Halfway through the thing, a guy in a gorilla suit just walks straight through everybody right across the scene. And nobody notices it because you're so focused on counting the basketball passes. And so things like that, there's a lot of psychology research about the way perception works, what's distracting, what's not, how you mislead people. And so I find all that stuff really fascinating. And there's so few games about psychology, especially deeply interactive games. Like I think that interactivity is like kind of the thing that sets apart games as an art form from other mediums. And so I find that the player skill competitive things, whether it's a fighting game or a game that's really different about about psychology, by turning that competition up, that you make the interactivity, you really put stress on the interactivity. And so it's kind of like it's the best way, I think, to like really get to the core of what interactivity means by having players compete in this system. And so fighting games are a great example. That's why we're here at EVO. It's like that kind of competition really like gets to the core of what games are about, I think. So yeah, so it's currently in closed beta. There's a big long waiting list. There's like 15,000 people signed up, which is great. And I'm sad that I can't invite them all in, but I don't have the back-end server stuff scalable enough to support that many people yet. Hopefully by the end of the summer, I'll have the beta open so anybody can just sign up. It's a Minecraft-style paid beta. It's a $15 thing, and you get the game on PC or Mac when it releases. The release date I have no idea about. It's going to be years, because I want to be perfect. Like all of the art you see here is placeholder. There's going to be way more maps, way more missions, better animation system, all of that stuff. But I'm going to be like any player skill competitive game, whether it's a fighting game or StarCraft or a shooter like Counter-Strike, you have to have a really long-term beta to really tune and balance the game. So it's going to be in beta for a long time. But anybody who signs up to the beta, just like Minecraft, will get all the updates and the final game whenever it ships.